This 70-year-old woman had her life stolen by someone she should have been able to trust. Well, hello there, stranger. Long time no see. Today I'm going to be telling you about the case of Rita Fleming. Viewer discretion, as always, is advised. Rita Fleming was 70 years old when her life was stolen. She had some personal issues which she was trying to deal with, a battle with booze which she was really struggling with. Rita had some friends in Australia with whom she maintained contact, but she was lonely. I can only imagine that loneliness did not help with her drinking issues. Perhaps one fed the other. Being lonely is a very painful experience, and many people don't realise the damage that loneliness can do to a person. My heart goes out to Rita. She had been in a long-term relationship, but her partner had passed away, and she was mourning. She was in deep grief when she met Clifford Cohen. And Rita was particularly vulnerable at that stage in her life because of her grief and loneliness. They entered into what would soon become a volatile relationship. But for all of her grief and loneliness and vulnerability, Rita worked really hard on her issues. She made sustained efforts to curb her drinking. She also made moves to take control of her social life, meet new people and make new friends. She tried out different activities and got involved with her local community. She didn't just look for the answer in the bottom of a bottle, you know. She wasn't nasty or violent. She was just a lonely lady who wasn't entirely successful in her attempt to stop drinking. And unfortunately for Rita, when Clifford came into her life, her drinking issues got substantially worse. Rita did have a couple of friends and she had a good relationship with her sister, and they, along with Rita herself, realised that her drinking had got worse around Clifford. And that is because he was not only an enabler, it seems that he would ply her with booze. Clifford himself was an alcoholic, but described as, quote, functioning. Whereas Rita would drink in excess and quickly become blackout, Clifford did not. He was a steady, heavy drinker who could more or less maintain control of himself. He was described as manipulating and exploiting Rita's vulnerabilities. In the days leading up to her death, Clifford was seen repeatedly leaving Rita's home to go to the shops, only to return with massive quantities of booze. While there is no direct evidence that he was violent to her, Rita's sister and one of her friends became concerned about her because of Clifford's controlling and aggressive behaviour. Rita was forwarding text messages from Clifford to one of her friends, and she said she was doing that in case something happened. And Clifford would keep Rita away from her sister and friends as much as possible, and he would do this by causing arguments and just complaining about the amount of time that Rita spent with any of her loved ones. And then Rita was seen for the last time alive on the morning of the 20th of June 2024. 3 days later, on the 23rd, police found Rita deceased inside the bathtub of her own home. The scene was staged to look like a drunken accident, to make it appear as though she had slipped and fallen, hitting her head on the bath and drowning in the process. However, upon further investigation, it was discovered that Rita had many injuries. She had 4 fractured ribs, and the pathologist said that this would have made it very difficult for her to move and that breathing would have been very painful. She had significant blunt force injury to the back and side of her head. It took 30 minutes for Rita to pass away, and she first inhaled water. The judge said there was, quote, notable suffering before death. Clifford then set the scene and left a tap running, presumably in the hopes that the residents underneath Rita's would flood and the alarm would be raised. He then left Rita's home, and despite having had a lot to drink, he immediately set about covering his tracks. He used his bus pass, visited shops, he made sure to appear on CCTV, again in an attempt to make it appear as though he wasn't anywhere near Rita's residence when she passed away. His first return to Rita's flat was to see if she had been discovered yet. She had not, and so he left. On his second return, he called police and the discovery was made. He told them that he'd looked through the letterbox and seen Rita's feet in her bed, and so he requested a welfare check. When Rita's remains were discovered, Clifford repeatedly insisted that police check CCTV so that they would be able to see that he was not there. He basically cast suspicion upon his own self with his erratic and weird behaviour. He was arrested, charged and eventually convicted of Rita's murder, although he did plead not guilty. Clifford Cohen was sentenced in September 2025 to life imprisonment with a minimum term of 16 years. He was reported to be around 59 years old at the time of his sentencing. Poor Rita, may she rest in peace. What do you think of this one, strangers? Please, as always, let me know in the comments. And if you've stayed with me up until now, then thank you for watching, and I will see you for the next one.